You won't believe this, but I did this full face of makeup for less than $50. If you want to see how to get this look, then keep watching. When I was prepping and planning out for this video, the first thing I actually grabbed that I knew I was going to include in this video was the new $8 e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation. I've kind of gone back and forth on whether or not I love this foundation or not. And honestly, it's a good foundation at a really, really affordable price. It's only $8 and you do get, you know, for $8, you get a pretty outstanding formula. Is it Dior? Is it Armani? Is it La Prairie? No, it's not. Set your expectations a little bit lower. And if you do that, you're gonna be very, very pleasantly surprised with the outcome of this foundation. The way it wears is actually very, very nice. I have my skin prepped like I normally do. I have my serum, my sunscreen. I'm looking really shiny because I am definitely prepped for this video. We're skipping primer due to our budget, being very budget conscious over here, obviously. And also, as you'll see, you know, it's not gonna be an overwhelming amount of products. We're gonna achieve a glam look that looks like a higher price tag. We're gonna get a full-on, beautiful, luxury type makeup look for under $50. Now with this e.l.f. foundation, I actually really been enjoying applying it with my powder brush. This is my N15 brush with BK Beauty. This is multitasking just like the N17, which is more of the flat, this guy right here, double-sided one. The reason why I like this is because this foundation to me feels a bit heavier if I don't really work it into my skin with a slightly more fluffy brush. I find that I get a really beautiful skin-like finish if I really buff it in with a brush that has more of a fluffy fiber to it. So I'm gonna work it all over. And the shade that I wear in this foundation from e.l.f. is 25 Light Neutral. And honestly, it is like a spot on color for me. It matches my skin almost identical. It is a really, really great shade match for me. I'm gonna run a little bit onto my eyelids to cut some of the redness so I can use a little less concealer when I get to that point. And it's gonna be a lot of working, a lot of finessing, and really getting this foundation to look a bit more higher end. So I'm building it slowly so it doesn't look heavy, because granted I could just slap on a huge amount of this product, buff it in and be done, but it would look heavier on my skin and I wouldn't like the way it actually feels. So I would rather work in thin layers to build it up, to really work it into the skin and to melt it into my complexion, than just slap on a whole bunch and call it good. So it takes a little more time, but the outcome is always worth it. I mean, look at that, it just blends straight into my neck without having to bring it down to my neck, which is always a plus because I cannot stand the feeling of foundation or makeup on my neck, especially because I wear a lot of high neck, high collar things in my wardrobe. So, all right. Pretty nice foundation. I mean, that looks gorgeous. That is a really, really gorgeous $8 foundation. I mean, technically speaking, it's $7.99, but we rounded it up to $8, and that is a good buy. Now, this next product is only $5.50, and it is a product that I am so familiar with, and when I purchased it for this video, it took me instantly back 10, 12, about when I started to use this and when I was introduced to this product. So long time ago in my makeup career. And I use this on myself because it was so budget friendly. And back in the day, this was only $4 from what I remember. Maybe it was $3.50 or maybe it was under $4. I was somewhere around $4, which again, back then, I was just starting out with makeup, still struggling and still just trying to make a name for myself and just to make money and to make ends meet as a makeup artist. So when I discovered this LA Girl Pro Concealer, this is a high definition, and it really is a high definition concealer. So underrated, but it's more like one of those concealers where if you know, you know. Like if you've ever used this, you know she's the GOAT. She's like one of the best drugstore affordable concealers that you could ever put your money into. So I used to love this because it saved me so much money. And then I used to, way back in the day, I would put all my money into my professional makeup kit, and then I would wear the cheapest stuff that I could get my hands on myself and on my face. So my face took a hit back in the day. I mean, it really just, I'd never put anything luxurious on my skin. I mean, hardly ever. And this is one of those things that really got me through my own makeup looks and allowed me to really, again, invest all my money into my professional makeup kit, which was what was making me money, not my face. Okay, I forgot about the air bubbles in this. So this is a full coverage, but very creamy, really, really nice texture, really nice consistency concealer. And it is so old school. You have to leave me a comment if you ever use this or if you still use it. Like if you still use it, I would love to hear it. I was really, really excited to get a new one of these and to try it out again because it's been so long since I've used this. It's been at least a decade since I've used this concealer, whether it's, yeah, I mean, it's at least been a decade for sure. So very excited. Total trip down memory lane for me. I'm going to use this to highlight, conceal, all those things, all the things I used to do with this concealer. And they also, in case you don't know, they have some fantastic color correctors that I still have. Do I use them a lot? No, but they're there just in case I need them. So highlighting the inner part of my face with this, and I find this it's just a great concealer. It really is just such a fantastic concealer. The shade that I have used the entire time I've known about this concealer is the shade Bisque. So Bisque, and I did pick up Vanilla too just in case I wanted to highlight with it. However, it's going to be definitely light enough to highlight as well. So I'm going to tap it in with my N14. And you'll see how this melts into the skin quite seamlessly. It's buildable, it's shearable, like if you want to shear it out, if you want to use a little amount of it, you could customize this concealer so well. I used to actually use some of these concealers in different tones to do a full face on myself. So highlight, contour, or bronzer actually, color correct, conceal, you name it. You could get a wide variety of shades in this formula for such an affordable price and really do a full face. So I'm gonna tap it in and then I'm gonna let this dry down and self-set because I don't want to use too much powder to lock this in. So I'm gonna let this dry down and do its thing for a little bit. And as it's doing its thing, we're gonna dive right into an e.l.f. blush. And I wanna just kind of get this on while my skin's nice and wet. This is a very, very fully pigmented blush. So this is a direct alternative to the, of course, Rare Beauty soft pinch blushes. These are, they act, they look, they perform, they do all the things just like the Rare Beauty one, except at a much more affordable price. This is $7. And fun fact, we're actually going to be using this for another area of our face. I'm sure you could guess towards the end of the video, but for now, we're going to dot this on as our blush. And this is the shade Suave Mauve. So now I'm going to grab my N17 brush and we're going to start to tap this in. And the reason why I didn't want to set my under eye concealer yet is because I want to bring this blush closer up to my under eyes without getting, you know, makeup separation and any kind of patchiness. We are gonna layer this. This is gonna be like our first round. And now I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna apply it to the back of my hand. I'm gonna dip my brush into it and pre-blend this on to my N17. And I find this is just a really great way of applying this blush in a more controllable, you know, technique. It's gonna look bright for a minute, but don't you worry, because we'll be layering a bit more concealer in just a bit. Going back to the N14, gonna melt in the edges with whatever's left over on my foundation brush, which is always a great way to erase any harsh edges with blush, bronzer, all those things, and just melt into the rest of your complexion like that. I'm gonna blend in the forehead highlight now. Now that's had a little second to dry down. And with whatever's left over on the brush, we're just going to work this on the base of the eyelid to cut any excess redness even more. And to use this basically as our eyeshadow primer, taking a bit of whatever's left over on the blush brush, which is actually quite a bit, and I'm gonna layer this across the nose and do a bit more concealing. Switching to my N16 brush, smaller, more petite, more precise. It has a tapered end to it, and it's gonna get right into this inner corner of my eye, where, in my opinion, I need the most concealing. So a little extra brightening right here, just to really, really brighten up this area. Skin is feeling great, coverage looks really nice, and we are heading towards a really pretty but very affordable makeup look. Now, there are not many loose powders at the drugstore that are affordable that I think are actually good, but when I tell you that the Lottie London, the pink one that came out really just recently, I feel like even like the last couple of months this came out. This is the Ready Set Go Under Eye Setting Powder. It's a brightening powder. It's a brightening pink shade, and this is ultra finely milled, ultra lightweight. If you have drier skin, you're looking for like a nice affordable alternative to the Givenchy, the pink powder that we all know and we loved, this is definitely worth checking out. I've talked about it a few times, and it's a really great powder. It performs well. It lasts a really, really long time on the skin, and it doesn't feel heavy or like look like chalky. Like a lot of the loose powders at the drugstore, I find just look really heavy, dusty, and crusty, and just not flattering on the skin. This one does not do that. So it's $7.99. So we'll just round up to $8 for the sake of this video and for the sake of like the math involved with this video. So $8, such a great deal. I'm actually gonna just tap some into a tissue that is below me. That's my favorite way to apply a lot of loose powders. And I'm gonna grab a clean N14 brush and dip into the pink powder. I'm gonna get a good amount and tap the rest of the product into the cap. It is, again, very finely milled. So be careful what you're wearing. Make sure you tap off the excess because you will end up with some excess powder, I'm sure, on your clothing, like I always end up doing. So work it into the brush so it looks somewhat like this. This is my favorite way to start out. Now I'm going to take this and just press it under my eye. Little forewarning, try not to inhale this. And don't say I didn't warn you because it is so finely milled that you could see, I'm sure, it is just kind of going into the air. So try not to take a deep breath as you're applying this powder, or any loose powder, honestly. You don't want to ingest it. Try to avoid that as much as possible. And I'm going to sweep some across my eyelid. I'm definitely going to use this in the T-zone. This is marketed more as like an under eye setting powder. You can absolutely use this all over, especially in the T-zone if you are oily like me. I like to start out with a nice matte T-zone. So look at that though. Big difference. Really cuts the shine. And it's just soft. You know, it's just a soft, loose powder that performs really nicely. Really shockingly well. For $8, this one's definitely worth checking out. I'm leaving a little excess on the side of my nose just to kind of get some more oil control throughout the day, which I really prefer for my skin type. If you're dry, always skip that. Trust me, you do not need to bake if you're dry. And now we're gonna go on to bronzer, and I have to say this $4 bronzer will not disappoint you. It's very natural, it's very buildable, it's very user-friendly, it's very beginner-friendly in my opinion. It's also obviously extremely budget-friendly for only $4. It's the Rimmel Natural Bronzer. It's just a matte, simple bronzing powder. I wear the shade 022 Sun Bronze, and the way I like to use this is the way I like to use all my bronzers, all my powder bronzers. I love to grab the BK Beauty 104 brush. This has it's a larger brush, so it's gonna cover more ground. It's gonna give me a soft wash of color across my forehead, my cheeks, wherever I'm putting this. But it does have a slight tapered tip to it, so I find that I could get into the hairline and like the cheekbone, the jawline with ease and without it being too bulky of a brush. So really love the 104 brush. I talk about it a lot, but just in case you're new here. So I'm gonna dip into that matte bronzer for only $4. And I'm gonna get a good amount. I'm gonna lightly lift up my little headband and I'm gonna sweep in a back and forth, light pressure but buffing motion, and really melt this onto my skin. I find this shade is just a perfect bronzing shade for my complexion, and for $4, you know, it's just a great bronzer. What can I say? It is a great bronzer. This is also one of the products I pulled almost instantly when I was planning out this video. I knew that I was gonna put this bronzer in this video because of the value and the formula and the way it looks on my skin. Bonus is it does wear really well. I don't find that's one of those like cheap drugstore bronzers that just kind of fades within a couple hours, which can be the case with a lot of inexpensive colored cosmetics like colored blushes, colored bronzers in powder forms. The pigment is it just dissipates throughout the day. This one does not. So there's many reasons why I put this in this video. All very important reasons, but look how pretty that is. I just feel like this gives me such a great golden bronze. I'm gonna move this headband back down a bit. Just like that, just where she was. And let's do the rest of the face. So I just brought so much life back to my complexion. Now, in the areas where I have the liquid blush from e.l.f., I'm gonna be very mindful and I'm gonna be very slow on my application. I'm gonna dip into the matte bronzer, and instead of going in a buffing motion, I'm just gonna tap it on. And this is how you layer, you know, powders on top of creams or liquids. You don't want to disrupt them because they're a little bit more fragile on your base. You want to just kind of lightly lay them on top, just like that. Getting close to the ear so there's no separation, and just warming up the sides of my face. I'm gonna hit the jawline with just a little bit of the bronzer, not too much, just enough to bring that balance. Now here's a trick with whatever's left over. You're just gonna buff it all along the sides, just for like a nice, natural, more sun-kissed look to my nose. I'm not trying to contour it and like chisel it down. You can, of course. For me, I just want to warm it up, bring balance to the center of my face so I'm not leaving my nose out, then it looks really mismatched. And I'm actually gonna switch to a clean N16 brush, same bronzer. I'm just gonna dip into it really quick. And we're gonna start to work this into right underneath the brow to add some depth and dimension. The lower half of my nose, it's gonna help to connect it. It just all makes sense. It all flows together. There's no harsh separation. There's no harsh lines of, or starting and stopping points, which I really do not like with makeup. Gonna work this up in here, and this is gonna be kind of like our priming transitional shade to go into the eyeshadow palette. And I am very very excited for this eyeshadow palette. It is very, very pretty. I've swatched it. It was such a unbelievable deal. It's a $6 palette. It's a quad palette to get 4 shadows. Ooh, it looks so pretty. And the shades are absolutely right up my alley. But before I do so, I am going to switch my brush one more time. I know it's a lot of brush switching around here, but I gotta do my style makeup even if it's under $50. So I'm gonna grab the Angie Hot and Flashy A504, same $4 Rimmel bronzer. There's so much you could do with bronzers. There's so many ways to elevate your makeup look, and that's why I use it in so many different areas, because it really ties together any makeup look. So I'm going to bring this on my bottom lash line before I even go into my eyeshadow palette, because I want this to, again, prime and define in a soft way before I even go in with eyeshadow. So I'm just going to sweep this all across under my eye, open up my eyes a bit more, just like that. And some of you love this technique, some of you don't. I appreciate both of you for your opinions. I do love the way a little bit of bronzer or a little bit of a sculpting powder looks just underneath the bottom lip. I switched to my N12 brush and a little bit right here. Total personal preference. I just love to bring out my lips with the same tone that I have on the rest of my complexion. What's also funny, I want to bring this up too, is, you know, when you think about affordable makeup and you think about $50, you think, I don't know, at least in my head, when I was thinking about this video and what I was gonna be able to get for $50 and how many products I'd be able to utilize for $50, I thought I would have so much more, like a sprawling spread of makeup in front of me. It is shocking how much everything costs and how much everything adds up so quickly. So by the time you get to the things you need the most, like your foundation, your blush, your setting powder, your concealer, your bronzer, you're almost maxed out. So it was actually much more challenging to get this video done and to stay within the $50 price range or under, because I couldn't go over. To me, that means I failed. So at least I'm under with this video. I'm actually at a $49 price point. So it's technically under $50, but still so much more difficult than I thought and that I anticipated. It was just, I couldn't believe it. I was stumped for a lot of these products and a lot of these things, and it took a long time to get to this price point, but we made it, and we still have a really great makeup look that we're gonna achieve for $50, or in this case, under $50. So the eyeshadow palette that I was mentioning is from LA Girl Cosmetics. Very pretty packaging. Like, look at that, that's gorgeous. Beautiful color story, very simple. Jewel tones over here. We got a nice mid-tone for the crease and a beautiful deeper shade. Very useful. This is the LA Girl 4Play eyeshadow palette, and this is the shade Seduce. Very pretty. Okay, so we're gonna, of course, dip into this mid-tone shade right away. I'm gonna grab my N13 brush, not much fallout, if at all, and we're gonna start in the usual place. We're gonna use this in the crease of my eye as our mid-tone. It's gonna connect to that bronzer so well. That's really pretty. So pigment is nice, actually very nice. Very blendable, very buildable so far. Building it up just in this outer portion and then just sweeping whatever's left over across the crease. That's very pretty. I was shocked at the value with this. This is $6, just $6. And it's actually the best affordable formula I've tried in a long time. I did want to go for a ColourPop eyeshadow palette, but that broke the bank for my budget, so I had to skip that, and that's when I found this, and I was just so thrilled. When I took it home, I started swatching it, I started touching the formulas, and I knew that it was going to be a hit, and I knew I'd be able to create a really elevated eye look with this palette for only $6. So, you know, not bad. Very impressed. Like, that blended out so nice. It's a great mid-tone shade for my complexion. Very soft, and it's blending right in. It's doing all the things I like an eyeshadow to do, which is not have a ton of fallout, blend easy, have color payoff, of course, and all those things. Really pretty. So bring this up towards the brow bone to really elevate my eye. And I'm going to switch back over to that Angie Hot and Flashy brush, same shade, and we're going to do the same thing on the bottom lash line, just like that. Now this next shade I'm actually going to apply with my fingertips, and I'm kind of torn which one to go for. They're both equally stunning. One's just a little bit more light and gold. One's more of like a deep bronze. You know what? Why don't we just do both? Let's do both. Let's do the deep bronze first. And let's apply it with our fingertips, because the amount of pickup that I'll be able to get with a very affordable eyeshadow that's a shimmer is going to be a little bit better than using a brush at times with this kind of formula. So pick it up with my finger. That's so pretty. I'm going to layer a bit more just onto my eyelid. It's definitely giving expensive, but for only $6, so it's not bad. Same technique, dipping into that next shade right over here. This one's a little bit more metallic, a little more of a high shine, and we're just gonna press this. Wow. I mean, would you guess that this is $6? If you saw me walking down the street, would you guess that I was wearing a $6 eyeshadow palette? I wouldn't. I would not guess that. That is for sure. Tap it further up. Oh, that's so pretty. Wow, okay. This is absolutely not giving $6. This is quite beautiful. I am seeing some fallout. However, it's not gonna ruin the makeup. What we're gonna do is just quickly go back to the N14 that has a little bit of loose powder on it still and just dust it. We have also a really deep shade in the palette. So what I'm gonna do is actually grab my N11 brush, let's grab a clean one, and we're gonna use this as our liner. So I'm gonna dip into this. Okay, this one does have a bit more fallout, I'm noticing. So I'm gonna pre-blend it onto my hand, try to work out any of the fallout before it hits my eyes. Okay, this might not be my favorite shade in the palette because of the formula. It's not quite as nice as the other ones, but I think we can make it work. The goal is to have a much more high-end look to this makeup with shockingly low price tag. I like that. Very pretty. I'm gonna take a little bit more of that powder in the same darker shade. I'm gonna run a little bit in the outer bottom lash line only. Just nice and close to my lash line. So a little extra drama. Okay, we're gonna put the palette away for now. I believe we're done with it, but we might go back, who knows. And now I have a new $5 mascara. I have not tried this one before. There are so many great affordable mascaras, but honestly, this was the cheapest, and this does have some really good ratings on the website. So I have high hopes. It's from Essence. It's the Lash Without Limits Extreme Lengthening and Volume Mascara. This is only $5, and I'm very, very excited. The brush looks like it's gonna be my type of brush. I love a brush that's this kind of shape, size, where it's tapered at the tip. You can get into the inner corner of your lashes. But let's try it out. I have very high hopes. So for only $5, let's see what this does. So good. This is a really nice formula so far. It's gripping onto my lashes quite quickly. It's not clumping, which is always a good thing, always a good indicator for mascara. And it's built up very, very quickly too. So I don't find that I had to go over it too many times to build up that drama, which is great. It's not a messy formula too. It's not getting all over the place. It's more of a creamy consistency, which I also really prefer with my mascaras. It's not like an overly wet one where those are the more messier formulas and harder to control. I keep looking at the monitor. This is fantastic. This is really fantastic. Let's go in with a second coat, dipping back in, and let's see what we can build up. Now the true test will be how this wears throughout the day, if I experience flaking, smudging, running, and all those things. So you'll have to stay tuned for those continued thoughts. I'll have to wear this all throughout the day to give you like that actual feedback on this mascara. But first impression wise, this is really, really a solid formula, especially for $5. I mean, that is great. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I mean, that looks so good. I'm gonna use the tip of the wand to get the inner lashes that are a little more tricky and just kind of go in and coat these one by one. Wow. I know I've got to stop saying wow, but this is a really good mascara. $5. It's fantastic. I mean, absolutely a must-have for sure. Okay, we're gonna get to the lips and talk about another trip down memory lane. LA Girl, their lip liners are such a hit. They're $3.50. If you know me, you've probably heard me mention the shade Cafe before. I love the shade Cafe from LA Girl. It's like my favorite lip liner from this brand. I still use it to this day. I still buy it. But I did pick up a new one that I have not used. I've never used the shade Blushing, and I'm really excited for this. It looks so pretty. And I just love this formula. So, don't sleep on the $3.50 lip liners from LA Girl because they are so, so good. So Blushing is gonna go on first, and it's a classic wooden pencil. They're very creamy. They don't tug. They're very, very pigmented. They just check all the boxes that a good lip liner at a higher price point checks, but for only $3.50. So if you are on a budget and you just don't want to spend a ton of money on a lip liner, I highly recommend you check these out. Okay, so Blushing, she's giving expensive for sure. Very, very pretty shade. But I cannot get over these lashes. Every time I look at the monitor, they're like, bing, right in my face. Lovely. That is a lovely shade, even on its own. So now we're gonna top that LA Girl Cosmetics lip liner with the same blush. It's the e.l.f. Camo Blush in the shade Suave Mauve. I figured this would be a really perfect combo that's hopefully gonna give maybe like a Chanel vibe. Maybe a more expensive, more high-end, maybe like a Pat McGrath style vibe with this lip combo. So high hopes. I'm gonna put this on top. Yes, you can put this on top of your lips. This is a liquid blush. However, there's no danger or harm in putting a liquid blush on your lips. The bonus is this is gonna dry down somewhat, and it's gonna be very, very long lasting. And it's like a full pigment product, so why not use it for multiple things, like your blush, even on your eyes, and of course your lips. That is really pretty. That's definitely giving a high-end vibe. This is not giving $7 on my lips and on my cheeks. I am gonna take whatever's left over on my blush brush one last time and tap on just a hint more blush, just like that. Now we're skipping setting spray because it was gonna blow the budget, and that is the final step in this full face for $50. I hope you enjoyed this complete look. To me, this screams luxury, and I would never believe that this costs less than $50. Comment below if you like this video. If you want to see another budget-friendly look for under a certain amount, leave them in the comments below. If you like videos like this, I have so many more. You can check them out right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.